Guys, we are doing part 2 of the Courtship Rivals. We're not going to hold it up for much longer. Before we do, guys,
smash the subscribe button.
Let's get into it.
Play. Magic Johnson going in, drops off the Bird. Bird puts it back off, inside to Johnson. Super basket.
This guy got game.
I love
They had
these
some wonderful moments on the court, but they probably spoke to each other 4, maybe 5 times during that entire time period, and it was more like, hello, how are you this morning, Larry? I'm good, Magic. What'd you have for breakfast? Don't remember. Have a nice day.
Damn, like
but
that.
Such curtness was hardly strange coming from Larry Bird, who was not only one of college basketball's best players, but also its biggest enigma.
I think he was a mystery to the extent that he wanted to be a mystery. He didn't enjoy doing interviews. He didn't go out of his way to do them. He wasn't particularly good at them. He was kind of like, hey, this is who I am. You want to know who I am? Watch the game. That's who I am.
I start to read material.
So they were quite opposite. Larry Bird, just a chill guy. He don't want to be in front of the camera. He keeps himself to himself. You got Magic Johnson that wants to be in front of the cameras, wants to be sociable
Flashy.
and everything. Very different people.
Introvert versus extrovert.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Shows that you're very quiet and you don't enjoy talking to newspaper people.
Well, you know, there's different kind of newspaper people. There's people that try to push you. You know, there's people try to get things out of you. Things going pertaining to basketball, and them the type of people I like to stay away from.
He didn't want people talking about his family. He didn't want his mother to have to deal with that, or his siblings to have to deal with that.
You got to remember where Larry came from. You know, Larry was raised in a 2 or 3 room house on a railroad track. Their family probably lived on $50 a week. He was raised tough.
Larry Joe Bird grew up in southern Indiana, in the twin towns of French Lick and West Baden. The Valley, as locals call it, was a tough working-class area. Tiny and remote, it was one of the poorest places in the state.
Oh, damn.
I didn't know that people made millions of dollars. I didn't know that everybody had a family car. I was in my own cocoon. I was in a small town with the people I knew, and I thought I would live there for the rest of my life.
Arriving Pearl Harbor Day 1956, Larry was the 4th of 6 kids born to Georgia and Joe Bird. Early on, he and his older brothers earned a reputation around the valley.
We were always considered troublemakers. We're either fighting amongst ourselves
or
there was always one of us fighting somebody. Larry was always one that kind of instigated things, you know.
If I get my brother in a fight with somebody his age, I was happy as hell, because I like to see him get beat up, and that's just the way it was. If I got in a scrape with some kid, and my brothers didn't come to my side, they knew that when he got home, my dad was going to whip him.
Larry and my dad were best of friends. They did everything together. When my dad would go out to my grandma's house, Larry would always go with him. They'd go fishing, do a lot of things together.
But Joe Bird also had a darker side, stemming from a traumatic tour of duty in Korea.
Larry remembers waking up in the middle of the night hearing his father's blood-curdling screams from the nightmares he had had from the war. What happened to his father in the war affected his entire life.
That's really sad because I know this is quite out of context, but it reminded me of it. We watched Peaky Blinders recently, which is a show on Netflix based on a guy who went to war in France, and similar, you know, you follow his story. He ends up being like a gangster and he sells, you know, import exports, becomes a millionaire. Anyways, beside the point, he has a lot of nightmares like that. And like, I think the war, like you said, really, really affects people's mental, and a lot of people never recover from it.
Yeah.
Because he had all the money in the world, years later, family, everything. He was still having nightmares of that war in France and, you know, what he went through, and it really messed him up.
It's a very traumatic experience. Yeah. The war went on for a very long period of time.
And you're killing people. Yeah. And you could be killed anytime.
Your best friends are dying right in front of you. Your brothers are dying in front of you.
You could have spoken to them 5 minutes ago and you find out they're dead. It's messed up, man.
He was never able to quite get rid of whatever those demons were.
A talented craftsman, Joe Bird struggled to hold steady jobs. And even when he was working, his demons would, on occasion, drive him to the bottle.
There were times when Joe went out with the guys and had a few beers and the wages didn't come home that night. And that didn't happen every day. It happened once in a while, but when money is as tight as it was for the Birds, once in a while was a major problem for their family.
My mom sometimes worked late, and sometimes she had 2 jobs, but that's the way it was. I worked at school during my lunch hours, worked at the local grocery store, put up hay in the summer. I mean, if you wanted money, you had to get it on your own.
To young Larry, actions spoke louder than words.
He was very quiet, kind of hung to himself a little bit.
I saw Larry take an F in an English class because he had to get up in front of his peers and give a speech.
No.
So I won't do it. But he just could not get up in front of his friends and talk. He was that shy.
Of course, next thing you know, when he knew it was time for all of us together at the gymnasium, there he'd be. The minute he'd get a basketball in his hand, things were totally different.
Basketball was just, it came to me, seemed like easy. I didn't have the quickness, I didn't have jumping ability. I just thought the game out.
What's that word when you've got 2 personalities? Alter ego.
Yeah.
Is that the right term?
I
to
guess
use
so.
there?
You can use it. Like he's got an alter ego, which is like some basketball guy. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, basketball superstar.
Yeah.
Like in a normal day's world, he's just an ordinary
Split
shy
personality.
yeah, that's it. He's got split personality. But as soon as he's got that basketball,
He's a different
just
man.
some fire ignites inside him.
And it seems like he needed it.
I feel like his story is very beautiful.
Yeah. I didn't know Larry Bird had a tough upbringing
Neither
like
did
that.
I.
It's amazing to see.
By his senior year at Springs Valley High, Larry Bird had sprouted into a star.
Wow.
But Bird was from the Valley, hardly a hotbed of talent in the big-time world of Indiana hoops.
The first thing they say, well, they don't play nobody down there. He's from French Lick. They don't play nobody.
I think that put a chip on his shoulder, always having to prove who he was and how good he was.
He was good enough for Indiana University's Bobby Knight to come calling late his senior year. And folks in the Valley couldn't have been prouder. Their local hero was heading 60 miles north to play ball for one of the best college teams in the land.
Wow.
Once I got to IU, it didn't take long to realize that I was out of my cocoon. I had over 30-some thousand students, that I didn't have the funds.
What a change.
First week and a half, I thought, man, this ain't gonna work.
He left after 24 days.
Let my mother down. She didn't talk to me for 2 months. But it didn't matter what other people said. To this day, I don't care.
Back in French Lick, Bird took to working for the city, hauling trash and painting park benches. Meanwhile, by that winter, his father's demons had taken him to an even darker place.
By this point, Joe and Georgia were divorced, and he was behind in his payments to the family. The police came by, and of course they all knew him. So Joe said, hey, I need a few hours to get my affairs together before you take me away. So he called Georgia and he said, you guys will be better off without me, and I'm gonna take my life. And he put the phone down and he killed himself.
Oh,
he shot himself.
Damn.
When Dad passed, you know, it hurt Larry. I mean, that was his best friend. It's gone now. But Larry didn't show it a lot.
He just didn't say much. You know, he just kind of held it within. I've never heard him speak out about it at all.
I was mad when I heard about it, and I was madder after the funeral because I thought he sort of cut out on us during a tough time. But you know, he went through a lot in his life. He did what he had to do.
That's the problem with suicide. I don't want to talk too much into it, but I feel like the people who take their own life, they need to really think about how it's going to affect the others around them, like their family, like their kids. Obviously, it's probably easier said than done at this situation because I've never been in the situation where I felt suicidal. But that's just my thought on it. I feel like it's just really tough, man.
I feel like the people that, again, this is completely going different direction now. I feel like people that do end up taking their own life, like you have to be so depressed. Yeah. Again, I've never felt suicidal or anything. So I'm only speaking from what I think. You must be so depressed and you must feel like you can't speak to anybody to help cure you. He served in the World War?
Yeah, World War,
He served in the World War. As we both know, super traumatic. something that possibly can never heal from. He's got inner demons in him as well. Like, it's not something someone can heal him. He's thinking, okay, I'm around my loved ones, but it's not enough. Yeah, it's affecting his family and the loved ones, but he was suffering himself as well.
He's suffering big time. For when you do it,
that's what led him to kill himself.
Yeah, it's really
such
sad.
a big thing to do.
Yeah, it's a big step.
If Bill Hodges hadn't been as persistent as he had been, Larry Bird might never have existed in any of our minds. I believe that with all my heart. I really do.
It was Bill Hodges, a young coach from Indiana State University, who convinced Bird to give college hoops another shot. So with a promise to his mom to graduate, Bird headed to Terre Haute and ISU, a school that never so much had been to the NCAA tournament.
Once I started playing, it's the same old thing. You know, he's at a small school and he ain't playing against anybody, which is fine. Still dominated.
Wherever Hoosiers gather,
and it starts.
They no longer talk of whether Indiana has a new state bird. Now his claim to fame is just the way he plays the game. Indiana has a new state bird. It's not the Cardinal now. Hey Larry, take a bow. Indiana has a new state bird.
By the time he had led tiny ISU as a senior to a 33-0 record,
wow,
a spot in the 79 title game, Larry Bird had become, alongside Magic Johnson, the talk of college basketball. Just a year after sharing the court on Team USA, they were back together. And the day before the big game, Magic couldn't wait to greet his old playmate.
Indiana State was on practicing, and we were waiting in the tunnel. We got there early. I wanted to definitely say hello to Larry, you know. When they came through, it was like nobody would say nothing. I wanted to go toward him, like his guys, like made sure that he didn't say nothing. And then they kind of started snickering, like, Michigan State, you in trouble. We're going to kill you guys tomorrow.
I probably did snub him. I don't remember it, but I'm sure I did. I didn't want any, you know, like I call it love fest, hugging and slapping high fives with opponent. You're there for a reason. You're there to win a game.
That just said it's on.
I like that though, because he's right. Because as soon as you get all friendly, it takes you off your game. He wants to be focused that we just need to win. There's no soft feelings in this. We're here to win. That's it.
No.
It is Indiana State against Michigan State. I'm Bryant Gumbel, and the fans here are going bananas.
I mean, let's face it, if Larry Bird were black and came from Chicago, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. They were polar opposites. One black, one white, one outgoing, one shy.
Yeah.
That was the charm of the attraction.
The Bird against Magic.
They're opposites.
All the superlatives have been used, and believe me, all of them have been warranted.
Heading into the tournament, Magic was the bigger star. But by tip-off, it was Bird, having hardly missed a shot in the semifinal, who had become the focus of fans, and more importantly, of Michigan State.
We actually had two men on Larry everywhere he went.
There he is, Dick. Look at they have him sandwiched in completely.
I'm surprised they didn't play a box on one, you know, 4 guys on Larry and 1 on the other 4. Because they didn't have a lot of talent. You know, if you stop Larry, you pretty much stop them.
Look at the pressure around him. 2-3 men. And he's short.
Oh, they got him off his game a bit, though.
I didn't play well at all. Biggest game of my life, I didn't play well.
And on a game like that, with all the eyes, it makes him look overrated. Because if he don't perform on a big game, they'll be like, I told you he's not all that, when he's up against good people. But it's because they locked him down.
I think our length and our size, our jumping ability was able to bother him.
Yeah, he's missing clean shots.
I didn't shoot well. Missed, I think, 3 free throws.
Larry Bird
that's painful,
has had
man.
a cold shooting night.
I battled him, but I didn't have it.
And you got Johnson, Magic doing that.
Michigan State University, national champions, 1979.
Magic, not only were you a leader on offense, I thought you did a great job on Larry Bird in the zone denying him the ball.
Yes, Coach gave us a good game plan to go against Larry Bird, and
All we had to do was go out and do it. That's what we done. And congratulations, Super Bowl game.
It was over, you know. That was my 4 years. I was done. No, it still hurts. And when you win 33 in a row and you walk into a game, you know, you never know what to expect, but I expect to win. We didn't win.
That must have been a hard lesson.
I feel like it's because they were all over him.
Yeah.
So that put him off game.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Who has two guys on you all the time? And they're big, black, tall, athletic, jumping. Like, they
knew their main threat was Larry Bird. So they're like, yep, we need to block this guy off. They're taller, they're stronger, like you said, more athletic.
Without Bird, they had no one, they said.
Yeah.
So once he's out the game, the team's basically done.
Yeah, basically.
Toughest loss I ever took.
Oh.
I knew it
Quite
was going to
close,
haunt him
75-64.
because we were going to see each other a lot.
The National Basketball Association, in its 33rd season, is troubled by diminishing crowds and declining television ratings, signs that fan interest may be waning.
If college basketball was flourishing at the end of the 1970s, the pro game was crumbling. After the golden era of Bill Russell and Jerry West in the 1960s, a merger with the ABA in 1976 had led not only to new teams, but a new temperament.
It was a new league with new times, with renegades, with individuals.
There was an argument made, plausibly, I think, that it was too black a league for the United States of America in the late 1970s.
You think about the Knickerbockers at the time. The running joke was it was the Knickerbockers. That's what it was. It was the N-word.
It's turning off a lot of white customers that are coming to the game, you know.
Why?
I think there's a conflict between the white and the black, and I don't enjoy going to basketball and seeing all black players.
That's where Larry Bird came in. So he's obviously, when he got into that league, he probably brought back all the white audience from the sound of it.
That's why he was basically the turning point of the sales and everything.
Yeah.
I think when they said too black, they meant not just in terms of color, but in terms of style. Let me get mine, and the hell with yours.
Basketball for us was about the best moves. You wanted to be that big player that everybody talked about. You wanted to be the one. You didn't think about winning championships or team play.
And those were just the issues
Drug
on the
use.
court.
The NBA had this image of an all-black league with a bunch of guys who did drugs. The teams were losing money, and they had no sponsors. And that's pretty much a death knell right there.
Yeah.
It's a known fact that you need your white superstars. You just need more white ball players on the team for the white fans to identify with.
And in the newest member of the Boston Celtics, that's exactly what the league appeared to be getting.
There's hope he can help solve professional basketball's difficulties, which some say are compounded by a question of black and white.
The Great White Hope. What does that mean?
Well, you know, it's very hard to say because there's a lot of great white players around, and I just hope that I can just fit in as well as some of them that has fit in.
He ran away from that designation. He made it very clear, almost from day one, that he was not the Great White Hope.
You know, the great players are the black players, and they're the best.
Very humble for him to say, innit? Like, come and say that after knowing how good you are, like, I think that's a really humble.
No, but I feel like this is very early in his career though, because if we look at later in his career, that's when he's more cocky, he's more confident, he's giving like trash talk on the court. This is very early.
I think that game with Magic where they lost in the semi-finals, I think that really broke his confidence as well, because he don't seem like the same.
Yeah.
Like he was always an introvert, but I feel like him saying that just shows like he thinks they're just better than me.
Yeah.
You could tell, innit? Guys, you know what? We're going to pause it there. Wait for part 3. That is part 2 done. We have extended it by 15 minutes apart to get through it quicker because you guys have been saying you want more. Don't forget to subscribe. For now, peace out.
Bye.